Welcome back to the Advanced Swimming Performance podcast sponsored by Commit Swimming, the smartest workout log. Just type a set and Commit instantly calculates the data for you. To learn more, visit commitswimming.com. We highly recommend it. I am Jenni Brozena, returning from Aqueous, and I'm here with Dr. John Mullen from Swimming Science over there in Santa Clara, California, right?
Boom, you got it. Just
all right, very
got
good.
Back from some I'm waking up here bright and early over here. I got my nice light to start getting my my sleep cycle.
Circadian rhythm back on. You did some international work, right? Don't you always love the international trip?
Oh yeah, it was an adventure. It was an adventure, but yeah, we'll have to talk about that some more during our
circadian rhythm talk.
I
love the international work.
I should have pulled that one out later. But anyways, tell me about you're also.
I'm down in Florida.
Wildlife, right? Yeah. Still in Florida, huh?
I'm down in Florida, and I want all of you to know down here that my parents have recently moved down here, so I was spending some time with them. And I officially can say that within one trip, I not only got truly assaulted by a seagull, but I also learned what a manatee looks like.
So how would you describe it? Any celebrities or friends that you can compare to?
They call it a sea cow.
Okay.
And I was standing with my mom overlooking an inlet, and they're over on the Gulf Coast side. And all of a sudden we saw something move, and I was just like, I have no idea what that is. I've never seen anything like this. It looked like a huge blob, and I could only see a little bit of it. So naturally, because I'm in a new crazy part of the world to me, I was like, oh, it must be an alligator. I was just convinced. I was like, this is an alligator, and it's going to jump up here, and it's going to eat me. And then it finally fully surfaced, and it was just this massive, very, gentle manatee. And then later on at the beach, I had a sandwich, and I got attacked by a seagull, and I have a little bruise. I do. Wow. He bruised me. So there's that.
Well, geez, I'm really upset you don't have your video set up. We're still waiting on someone to send you a headset, maybe webcam, so I can start to see, some of this bruising. It'll really bring me back to great PT school memories of wound care and dressing, all types of things. So
I could actually show the world what a contusion is.
There you go.
Contusion. For all of our listeners, go ahead and send me a headset. I'm waiting on something. How about those locket pictures? Did you get any yet?
Still waiting on them. It's still sitting here empty. I'll just bring the whole gang out. We got Buddha looking for a friend. We've got my Indian little bobblehead guy here.
Do we have anything new for today?
I could, start measuring things over here with my great PT tape measure. Or, you know what? I will go with my nice Lake Tahoe magnet that sits here on my desk.
I love Lake Tahoe.
Yep, a nice patient gave me. I had a group not long ago for some former patients, some adult exercisers. We went and did the treacherous Half Dome hike.
Nice.
Oh, sorry, that's not Half Dome, or that's not Lake Tahoe. What am I talking about? I'm all over the place here. I need my light. You need
your light.
I'm still in Philippines eating balut and all types of weird eggs and pickles and stuff. But anyways, enough of me and my exotic adventurous eats out here. We are going to be talking about something far more exciting.
Start trajectories.
Start trajectories and swimming starts.
I learned, for when we go and do the recap, I might say that I learned how to say trajectory. Trajectory. There we go. All right. What is it? Why do we care? Tell me.
Why do we care? Starts are huge. I mean, especially on a sprint event, a 50-meter event. I mean, start can contribute. Geez, I don't know the number off the top of my head, but I think it's 20 to 30% of that race. So if you are not nailing your start, you're going to be having some problems, or you're just going to be behind the eight ball. And really trying to determine ideal starting trajectories, figuring out if you need to be manipulating a swimmer start is something that needs to be considered, and something to be considered at a young age, just because we know with the motor learning principles, the more reps they get at a certain starting style, the harder it's going to be to reshape that later on.
Yeah, and I'm going to come clean right off the bat. No matter what population I'm working with, whether we're perform, coaching, or healthcare, it drives me insane when we only spend a small amount of time working on starts. Like the whole, okay, we're 3 days before a meet, we might want to go and throw in a little bit of start work, drives me crazy. If we don't actually have a specific number of exercises in the dryland program tailored to improvements in starts, it drives me crazy. So there you go. I'm fully clean. 2 of my pet peeves. There you are.
Boom. I think those are huge. It's definitely one of those. And I'll hop back on memory lane here as someone trying to convince the coaches he wasn't a 200 flyer and doing some sprint events in college.
Calling him out.
Why didn't we do more starts? It's something I always wondered, and maybe it was you call me a sprinter or in the sprinter mindset of just needing to practice it. But, it was such a huge thing. And you need the repetitions, especially if it is 20 to 30% of your race. That's a huge component of it. So how can coaches solve this problem? How do you think they can start utilizing more starts, how to figure out that volume and how to maybe monitor and go from there?
Yeah, well, you know me. I'm a huge fan of taking the sport-specific skill and breaking it down to a movement just unto itself. The start at the very basic is a plyometric movement. Right? Whether you are a distance swimmer, mid-distance, relay, whatever you are, you have one job at that moment, and it is a plyometric movement. And we need to make sure that every athlete is training that way. And that's why you can't wait until 2 or 3 days before competition, is because your body needs to be able to train that way. Your muscles need to be able to adapt to that exercise. You need to be able to work on your reaction time. And there's a variety of training principles that go into each one of those categories. So I think recognizing that the movement itself is plyometric is a huge starting place for understanding the start.
No, I think that's huge, and I think you nailed it. Just being able to break it down, because once again, individualizing what the athlete needs is huge. And I'm glad you brought up reaction time. Rowdy Gaines would be very proud of you. He's always talking about the importance of reaction time. Shout out to Rowdy. Next Santa Clara Grand Prix, we'll get a practice in together, no doubt about it. But with the reaction time, even though that doesn't correlate with starting success, if an athlete's taking 0.9 to get off the flipping block, I think doing some reaction drills could be helpful for them, because they can start to pick off some there. Or like you said, if they're having a tough time with their, stretch reaction, with the plyometric movement, with their stretch recoil, or perhaps they aren't integrating their whole body. We talked a little bit about the kinetic chain in previous talks, and how obviously the start isn't, one where you're getting the, rotational component like we talked about, but you are certainly getting many muscles involved in being able to coordinate them and use them for positive results, not just using them for the heck of using them. Something's hard enough, don't make it flipping harder.
Right.
But being able to use it efficiently to transfer is a huge component.
Oh, absolutely. And I even believe, take a look at a start. You have so many factors going on with the start, not only just the reaction time, but the heightened anxiety level, and anxiety in terms of, both maybe negative nerves, but also a positive, hey, it's time to focus, it's time to get the adrenaline pumping, it's time to have a physiological response that readies you in order to go and have really good performance. That all needs to be practiced. Otherwise, you kind of get out of balance. So when I'm working with coaches and we're talking about start practices and what's the best way to do it, I want to find a way to get that athlete to elicit their arousal response. How can we get them a little bit nervous, and how can we get them a little bit off their guard, and how can we still have them perform a really great plyometric movement all at the same time? And that does not happen when there's 5 minutes left of practice and it's say, okay, let's go do 3 starts, everyone. It's really saying that throughout each practice, we have maybe 5 minutes built in to run through a simulation, to run through some role playing where these things happen. And you are still practicing those physiological principles.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And I think, breaking it down into not only the biomechanical aspects of it, but also the neural and the anxiety issues that you're talking about are huge. So you've thrown me on the spot a few times during this.
Yes.
Let's throw it back on you. How are you going to increase their anxiety levels during a practice? What are some of the techniques you could recommend to coaches?
I think that there are so many, and it's really going to go based off of that coach understanding the specific athlete. So I'm going to throw a disclaimer out there. Definitely not a one size fits all, but based off of the athlete, are they really worried about caps and goggles? If so, if that's their biggest fear, find a way to get them on a spot and take away one of those things so that they can practice still performing well with the fear. Do they get nervous being on the block and having everyone looking at them? Find a way to simulate that. You know, do they get really nervous with the 5 minutes leading up to it and talking about the race and talking about goal setting? And does it seem to be insurmountable or something like that? Simulate that. Whatever it is, try to find a way for them to still be able to perform the movement really well under that stressful condition. And I can't say it enough. One step at a time. If they don't have good jump squat form, then don't try and psych them out before they go and practice the start. Break it back down. Make sure you have a good jump squat. Make sure that you have a good plyometric start off the block, and then add that environmental component, we'll call it. And I think that's the biggest thing that I would tell a coach in terms of creating that role-playing scenario. In terms of, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. You got more?
I was going to talk about how that actually relates to trajectory, because
boom, hit it. Go for it.
I kind of screwed up trajectory though. Yeah, when we talk about that, right? We all hear athletes or, you know, really great coaches can say, "Oh, I saw them win from the start," or something like that. That's all about trajectory. Haha. And how do we get the best start for them versus having them slip in the water or having them not get out as far as they need to? And how deep do they go in the water? And is there a fastest way to get through the water? And how do you create the hole within, you know, the water and all the hydrodynamic stuff that goes into it? There's a ton of physics principles that go into understanding start trajectory. And that's really where the manipulation of the plyometric component can help, is that you can find a way to support the athlete doing it the best way more and more times, and being able to become confident in their ability to hit that mark more and more times, so that they can practice and become stronger at it and get the best start possible with the best reaction time. Because I think you have two big parameters working together there. You have the plyometric strength and power, but you also have the reaction time, and one without the other does not equate to a good start.
No, I couldn't agree more. Do we need to get a commit swimming little read going on now before I go on my own rant?
Yes, we do. And that's what I love. All right. So you should check out Commit Swimming. Why? Because we love them. It's a smart workout log that uses an algorithm to calculate workout data based on what you wrote. It's truly incredible and fun to see in action. Just type out swim sets and commit intelligently. Calculates how much kick versus pull versus swim you're doing, what percentage of your training is aerobic, how much IM work you're doing, and so much more. So go ahead and visit commitswimming.com and start your 30-day free trial today.
Exactly. So I think you hit on a lot of big points there. So one, don't get the cart in front of the horse.
Yep.
Okay. With your young kids, learning proper biomechanics is huge. And this goes back to some of our other talks we've had, and it goes down to one, learning just regular wall sit or biomechanical form of trying to have good hip, knee, ankle alignment, having good spine alignment, just getting those things done early rather than later. After that, then you can start progressing to some things where they're actually doing squatting motions, doing things where they're landing during a squat. You know, it's often these simple tasks that coaches can overlook. You think, oh, who can't squat? I mean, come on, they can do it. But geez, you look at young kids doing squat jumps. Oh, it makes me cry. It makes me cringe. You know, it's just, you know, here's my business card. See you in a year or so. And that's, you know, how it has to go sometimes. But it really is something that can be implemented at such an early age. Maybe as a dynamic warm-up, whatever, having them learn these things, implement it early on is huge. And then I really liked what you said, getting down those basics first. Then you can start to really nail in the start, you know, get it into repetition, manipulate some of these variables, start getting some times to certain distances and see really what is going to work and individualize best for that athlete. Then, like you said, you can get into the anxiety component, the psych component, whatever it is, whether you're deleting their Pokemon Go app before they get on the block or something like that. Whatever's going to get in their head, you can start to try and manipulate it, or say you need to rip their Michael Phelps cap behind the block, whatever it is. Try these different things. Try and get into that athlete's head a little bit so they are used to being under stress and being in an uncomfortable situation while they need to nail whatever it is. Regular start or even relay start. I mean, we're really talking on regular starts here, but relay starts are another thing that aren't practiced enough, in my opinion, especially for high school, college, so on and so forth.
Yeah, so the question remains, does an ideal start exist? You know, when we're actually looking at the underwater footage and we see differences, again, going back to that kinematic chain and optimal movement, we see differences based off of how deep some of the swimmers are going, how far out some of the swimmers are diving, when they are starting their breakout, how long they're staying in a streamline. Does an ideal start exist? I mean, I know the research is torn. I'll tell everyone that right now. The research is torn depending on what you're reading. So what do you think, John?
I think an ideal start exists for every swimmer. However, I don't think one size fits all, like we've been echoing, or I hear echoing in the office here. So it's something that needs to be set for each swimmer, and something that it should be what we're striving for with each swimmer is having their ideal start for them. But, you know, just, you know, saying, oh, geez, Florent Manadou has a great start. Why don't my 5'4", 13-year-olds try and do what this 6 foot 200 pounders doing on the block, expecting that their same parameters and same, start styles are going to be, coexisting is nonsense, in my opinion. So figuring out what's going to work for each one of their swimmers based off of their, based off of their intrinsic skills, based off of their body types, based off of all these different variables, is going to be the coach's job to figure out and really to maximize each and every one of their performance.
I love that you brought this topic up, because whether with my work, we're in a prepare stage, a performance, or a rehab, so often it's very easy for people to say, oh, well, this particular athlete swims this way, so my kids should swim this way, or I want to swim this way. And when you take a look at it from a movement standpoint, they're representing the best for their particular body. If you don't have the same body as them, that might not be your best option. And that really, really comes down to the whole start trajectory thing. I agree with you completely. There is an ideal start for each person. There is no ideal start for everybody.
Yep, I couldn't agree more.
I love that.
All right, well, we could talk about this for hours, but I actually have a patient that I need to get rolling.
I love
Anything else you want to add here, or am I just going to be holding up my Lake Tahoe, my energy light here?
You're going to hold up all of your stuff. I'm going to go make friends with another manatee. And next time, I will see you all on camera. So everyone tune in next time. I will be on camera.
All right. You heard it. We're holding her to it. Take care, Jenni.
Take care. Bye-bye.